Hey YouTube, Hostway with Cologne Addict back with another video. Sorry if the video is a little dark using a different camera today. Um, but basically it's going to be an update video to one of my previous videos for Armaf. It's Armaf Niche Oud. I did a video about a week ago. At the time what I did was I just sprayed it on my hand, gave it a few minutes, let it dry down, and then I kind of gave you my first impressions on what I thought it smelled like. At the time I didn't really have any colognes in my collection, and I hadn't personally smelled anything that I could directly compare it to and give you guys my thoughts as far as a comparison. Since then, about 2 days ago, I did get a few more days to try out the Niche Oud. Got a little bit better understanding of the actual cologne. And since then, about 2 days ago, I got my 11th niche bottle added to my collection. Came in the mail. And instantly, when I sprayed it on my arm, the first thing that came to my mind was, that smells like Armaf Niche Oud. Which is kind of obviously because I smelled the Niche Oud first. But just to break the surprise, the cologne I'm talking about is Armaf Jubilation 25. Now, let me get into the, let me kind of compare and tell you exactly. They both have an incensey, fruity, sweet, with a vanilla-y background. As far as the homage goes, I'm going to do a quick separate review on that one. That one's been heavily reviewed, but still going to do another one just for anyone that doesn't watch this one. The homage opens up more. The fruity note itself is more of obviously a blackberry note. And so you kind of get that blackberry incensey open, and the incense smell is really strong. As it starts to dry down, you start to pick up more of the more of a sweeter, almost caramelly vanilla type smell. So if you summarize the cologne itself, it's going to be a sweet, fruity, incensey, vanilla-y type smell. Now we go back to the Armaf Niche Oud. There's no blackberry in this one, but it has bergamot. And I feel like this one, it opens up very similar. It has a fruity, incensey opening. When I initially sprayed this one on my hand, I compared it to the smell of root beer. And when I think about it a little bit more, I was more picking up maybe like the incensey smell mixed with like a vanilla type smell. And if I had to do, if I could still stick to it now. To me, that incensey vanilla smell kind of gives off a root beer vibe. But going back to the actual comparison, you get that fruity incensey opening, and as the Niche Oud starts to dry down, you know, just like the Jubilation 25, the incense never really goes away. It just kind of dies down, but it's always there. You're going to smell the incense from beginning to end. It just kind of slowly takes a back seat. Does the same thing in the Armaf Niche Oud. The fruity smell is obviously a little different because that one has a blackberry opening and this one has more of a citrusy sweet opening, but unless you smell it up real close to where you have one on each arm and you're going back and forth, that's where you can smell the differences. I tested this with several people, my wife and a friend. I sprayed one on each arm. I had them just I waved it in their face. I waved the other one in their face. They thought it was the same cologne. It's not until you actually really, you know, sit there and smell it to get the differences where you actually can pick apart the two colognes. Another difference between the Armaf Niche Oud as it starts to dry down is the iris note that's not in the Jubilation 25. So initially, openings are very similar, and then you get to the second stage of the cologne, and once the incense smell goes down on both of them, they get really close to almost smelling exactly the same. And then it kind of changes a little bit on the Niche Oud side. The Niche Oud, as the dry down gets a little further, maybe like an hour or so into the dry down, that iris note starts to creep out a little more, and you get a lighter, powderier vibe from the Niche Oud. You still have the fruity incense in the background, fruity, vanilla, incensey smell in the background, but you get that iris note that starts to kind of make its presence a little more known, and it definitely differentiates them. Makes this cologne a little lighter, but still, like I said, you have to really go back and forth and smell them like really good to actually pick out those differences. I did test with my wife at about 3 different stages with both of these colognes, and she doesn't smell colognes as much as I do, but just doing that same wave my arm in front of her face so she can just kind of get the smell in the wind, she had a hard time differentiating between the two all 3 times. If I had to give it a percentage as far as how close Armaf Niche Oud is to Jubilation 25, I would say like 90%. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties, so I'm just kind of picking up right where I left. I would say like a 90% similarities between the two of them. Your average person walking by is not going to be able to really tell much of a difference between the two colognes. Your frag heads, they'll be able to pick out the differences. But overall, they are very close in smell. Enough to where I would feel comfortable saying that Armaf Niche Oud is a clone of Homage Jubilation 25.